perpetuate a way of life, the customs and mores of a splendid community seen in their Moroccan context. The community moved on to its new ancient homeland. Affluence and the common lot of penury. A mixture of time-worn and the new. But what is the true nature of the place? El Maghreb El Aqsa, the land of the furthest west, was a name given by the Islamic world to the westernmost country reached during their holy wars of conquest in the 7th century. In a country of widely varied natural features, ranging from the Atlas Mountains to the fertile coastal plain, the broad regions of virtual desert to the crowded cities, 12 million people live in an area of about 170,000 square miles. Rabat, the capital. Marrakesh, cosmopolitan Tangiers, Meknes, and Casablanca, the largest of them all. Evidence of the turbulent, eventful past intrudes on us everywhere. A history of successive rulers and foreign occupations, from the Romans to Byzantium, from the Arab rulers of Damascus and Egypt to Christian Spain and Portugal, until 1955, when the French abandoned its protectorate and gave Morocco its independence. Religion is Islam, and its spiritual home, the city of Fez, studded with mosques and minarets, and enhanced by the presence of 1,000 sons of the Prophet. Dark cubicles, the walls an arabesque of sayings from the Koran. From these same shadows, some 800 years ago, emerged that revolt and dynasty known as the Almohades. From here, fanatic defenders of the faith went out to persuade by the sword. The social fabric is fluid. Primitive and modern patterns overlap. Beyond the wide streets and contemporary buildings lies the Medina, or ancient quarter. Cramped behind its long lines of crenellated walls, life continues its ancient rhythm. The heart of the Medina of Marrakesh, with its tinsmiths and blacksmiths, dyers of wool and tanners of leather. Morocco is a country of petty trades, and its artisans ply their crafts with the tools of their grandfathers. Gemma Elfna, the vast open space, part marketplace and part popular entertainment center, where sorcerers and barbers, singers and dancers, snake charmers and storytellers enthrall a willing audience. Two great seas, each with its own voice, skirt the shores of Morocco. On the north, the gentle Mediterranean, and on the west, the dynamic Atlantic shows the way to the New World. And all along the coasts, vestiges of Morocco's rich historical past claim our attention. There was a time when the small fishing ports of Mogador, Agadir and Safi played an important role in trading with America and as garrisons on the sea route to southern Africa. The Portuguese and the Spaniards were once masters here, a focal point in their rich and complex mercantile empire. Until this very day, in the northern towns of Tetuan and Tangiers, one still sees the imprint of Spain in the days of her supremacy, the days when her ships pursued a shorter route to the spices of India, the days when the Jews sought asylum from the Spanish Inquisition. The Jews of Morocco, until recent years, some 250,000 in number, have had a long and intricate history. Impelled by the upheavals of the past, they converged here in wave after wave, from Jerusalem after the destruction of the Temple, to the expulsion from Spain and Portugal in the 15th century. Little by little, a large and coherent community was formed, preserving its identity through historical change and political evolution, through war, abuse, and adversity. The Mellah is the Moroccan ghetto, the narrow and confined enclave of the Jews in the large cities of Islam. This is a Jew, with a mode of dress imposed on him by the Arabs, setting him aside from the rest of the population. Within these walls and these streets, hemmed in by hostility and humiliation, the Jews managed to keep themselves and their tradition intact. Within the confines of these courtyards, a complex pattern of life is woven. The generations live side by side, and the householder pursues his trade at home. The Mellah is not merely the residential quarter. In the Kazariot, the stalls where formerly precious goods were sold and duties paid to the crown, trading is brisk. The fruit market or the meat stalls, an exotic kaleidoscope of color and cadence, of mediation and bargain, of buying and selling. In troubled times, the small Mellah would become the community's citadel, or its chains. As late as the beginning of the present century, the gates of the Mellah were still being shut at sundown, and all contact with the city ceased. Most of the Jews of Morocco live by trading on their skills. They work with consummate craftsmanship, creating and finishing their products in their own workshops and selling them on the premises. They have a special flair for the fashioning of jewellery, a clean and delicate craft, wherein the imagination may lend each bangle and bracelet the quality of a work of art. As everywhere, we find the Jews in the free professions. But there are the more robust skills as well. Here we have an artisan who looks as if he might have stepped out of the pages of the Mishnah, as the legendary Rabbi Johanan the Cobbler. Sometimes a number of artisans will join in establishing a workshop together. They will make lamps, hammer out copper utensils, or carve, chisel, or fret away at wood, as this craftsman is doing. Nor are the women absent from the scene. They have their niche in this working world, especially the very young and those who are still unmarried. For there is still no law against child labor here. While their brothers are poring over their books, the girls learn to guide their fingers through the loom as dexterously as through the strings of a harp. Here the carpets are woven, and here they are devised. Here they are produced, and here they are sold. Carpets are sold in the manner of the East, leisurely and lovingly, and with infinite patience. This craftsman has mastered an exacting technique. With golden threads, he embroiders the insignia of the officers of Morocco's army. This is his daily bread. But to gratify a less mundane need, he makes the golden leaves glow on the curtain of the ark. We came across members of the Hasidic sect, Chabad, who had come as volunteers from the United States to set up yeshivot and workshops where they hoped to train and enlighten the youth in the spirit of their teachings. These schools combine religious studies and work. In this workshop for religious objects, youngsters become expert in the making of phylacteries, learning to master all the stages of this intricate and subtle work. Wherever they found themselves, the Jews knew that only by study and the knowledge of the entire body of Jewish wisdom would they preserve their identity. Learning has a beginning, but no end. For according to tradition, the Torah has no bottom. This spirit of study will accompany these children to the end of their lives. The children pore over their books, and their parents pursue the daily round. But those who are less fortunate and cannot earn their keep receive food parcels sent by the joint. Set up a Hebrew kindergarten for the children of the Mellah. In an atmosphere of quite another kind, the children are drawn away from wandering listlessly about the narrow streets. Here, in their own realm, they feel like masters in their own home.
וגופן. אמן. מלך העולם המות להם מן הארץ.
While the children are getting ready to greet the Sabbath, their mothers are preparing for the festive meal. Carrying the shrina, the traditional Sabbath dish, to the central ovens. Sabbath Eve.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קדישנו ומצוותיו וציוונו ליד נענה השבת.
A new dimension is added. Daily burdens laid aside. The husband returns from the synagogue and spends an unhurried hour with his wife and daughter. Just as the week is lived from Sabbath to Sabbath, so the year is lived from one holiday to the next, giving meaning to the rest of the days. New Year in the Jewish street. The whole community is in the synagogue, offering its prayers. And from the street of the synagogues, all the chauffeurs blare out in one great exultant blast of greetings for the new year. There are other joys in the streets of the Mellah, joys steeped in traditional color. Here we have the henna ceremony, which is held within the intimate circle of the family some days before the wedding. signifying the bride's and bridegroom's approval of the betrothal. The bride is clad in the inherited dress known as the jalkita, the custom handed down from the golden era of the Jews in Spain. Bedeck her in their own jewelry, a practice stemming from the ancient Jewish precept not to put a poor bride to shame. Is then led to the prospective bridegroom. And the powder ground from the henna root is daubed on their palms. This is a cue for the festivities to begin. Purim is a time for fun and frivolity. The kindergarten celebrates in its own fashion. At school, the Megillah of Esther is learned by rote, and its meaning expounded.
Shivat Saring Parasumadai Roe Pene Amelech
In a prosperous household, preparations are in full swing for the elaborate interchange of gifts that accompanies the holiday, a much favored custom among the Jews of Morocco. The crowning event of the feast, the reading of the book of Esther in the synagogue.
عسى نسي يكون صار بعد ذلك فرس البدايا الطرسيمات بصاري المدينة ميتنا يا أطور يخلصك المخصوص يتقى إرين جدلته يمين ربين سيمانين الماتر الإنجلس يمين إلى صدنا.
The Jews of the Mellah are pious in their ways, devoted to their holy days and observant in their fasts. But the graves of the fathers are accorded special reverence. The dead are never forgotten, ever present amongst the living who come to pray and supplicate at the graves of the godly and the mystics.
ويا أخواني المسؤولين زميكم بنا سلادة مساقم يفكتبون مرت وخزر بالله نيغيل بني لم يقرح زخامات بسمسين توحد الزواح زقن كشير بمسيح كوين روحك ميت نحن لكن عني تفيرة عالمة هذه نيلة ويسحب يا أبو سلم يلقى مسكيب وتعام وليخني حقوب خلال السلح وتخيني رسول ومارامي.
With a terrible awe and devotion, they lean over the ancient stones, murmuring passages from the Psalms, seeking communion with other worlds. In our quest for Jewish communities, we went southward, deep into the Moroccan countryside. Here in the south, we felt as if we'd come to another country. The nearness of the Sahara was evident. The region is virtual desert, and would certainly suffer the fate of the desert if it were not for an occasional natural or artificial oasis fed by the winter rivers. Berber tribes settled in these oases and built walled-in fortified villages, Taqsir. Narrow, winding streets within, and carefully tended, intensively cultivated fields without. Water is life here. The most primitive means are used to draw water. The building material is simple. Earth mixed with straw and a bit of water, packed down tightly. And the wall rises before one's eyes. All commerce, social life and entertainment are centered round one day, market day. At dawn, they're already on their way, singly or in groups, by foot or riding on beasts of burden, laden down with goods or empty-handed. From the minaret, the muezzin bows down in prayer, reminding the throng of their heavenly duties. All manner of business is transacted here. Goods are sold and others are bartered. Livestock and wood, ornaments and twine, all to the tune of a single-stringed oud and the plaints of the gaudy beggar. The goods are made before your eyes, intently, patiently, and with a good deal of competence, whether it's a lock, a handle, or an animal trap you require. And here are the Jews, artisans and dealers in stuffs and cloth. From a bird's-eye view, the Ksar is but a mud-walled city, born of the desert and the desert's silence. It is difficult to conceive of life going on here. The torrid sun beats down relentlessly, appearing to consume any semblance of vitality. But within the walls of the Mela, we met the Jews of the south, the Jews of Ouarzazate, Tinariya, and those of Erfoud and Lissani, a keen and lively clan of all ages. South are the oldest Jewish communities, unchanged and intact in their ancient beliefs. When did they come here, and how did they get here? It is said that in the 6th century they fled from the severity of the Christian Byzantine rulers and headed south to the mountains of Atlas. Here they found a refuge. The Berber tribes received them cordially, and they settled here in the heart of the desert Ksars. The Jews brought their talents with them. Here is a silversmith moulding a bracelet from gleaming molten metal. We came here on the eve of the 9th day of Av, in the midst of preparations for the last meal before the fast marking the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem. This babe, too, is baffled by the strange Jewish world of which he will soon become part. The men dine alone, the ritual of washing the hands and breaking the bread. The elders, patriarchal figures whose age lends dignity and luster to the community. In the synagogue, still lamenting the loss of the temple, they relive the terrible day. How doth the city sit solitary that was full of people? How is she become as a widow, she that was great among the nations, princess among the provinces? How is she become tributary? She weepeth sore in the night, and her tears are on her cheeks. Among all her lovers she hath none to comfort her. All her friends have dealt treacherously with her. They are become her enemies. Ancient gravestones in the cemetery at Ifran bear witness to the existence of Jews here for many a century. Throughout this long span, the Jews of North Africa continue to make their way to the Holy Land. They came throughout the ages. In recent years, when immigration from all over the diaspora multiplied, their numbers increased as well. With the establishment of the State of Israel and the opening of its gates, masses came, until the law imposed its iron will. 1956. Morocco gained its independence and joined the Arab states, and the Jews were forbidden to leave. The offices of the immigration authorities were shut, and Zionist activity was banned. Unseen forces continued to guide the youth, however. News from Israel still reached every community, large and small, near or afar, and despair was kept at bay. Faith in the emissaries from Israel was profound. Young and old, man and woman, followed them implicitly. Writs and warrants did not curb the flow of immigration. Even the tragic drowning of 43 immigrants, not far from the Moroccan coast, could not deter their course. Immigration proceeded at a petty pace. In the course of time, their struggle bore fruit, giving a new turn to the lives of the Jews of Morocco. In 1961, news of emigration possibilities reached the Jewish communities. There are more isolated regions in the south. The towering, snow-peaked Atlas Mountains, whose slopes are the home of the Berber tribes. Aguim, Tabia, Tahisant. Even in these remote villages, Jews are to be found. Small congregations and isolated families who have kept a particular essence of their own. Life has another resonance here. The Jews are part of the landscape and the working pattern. For not only do they have the same capacity for the crafts that their brothers in the Mellah have, they also work in the fields, ploughing and sowing and harvesting. They are on excellent, though somewhat reserved terms with their Berber neighbors. The head of the village visits a Jewish family. Jewish cobblers are masters of the lust. Hospitality is another attribute handed down from the days of the patriarchs, measured here in cups of Moroccan tea, fragrant mint tea,
كل العام كيف هذا عم جاد ها كان عم جاد بركة شويش هذا عم ناقص لحال شوي الزراعة كاين لا حاول البرد شوي شكون دابا تقول لي وقف كسرك باقي شي 4 الناس و 5 سنين وباقي جوج في الصور هنا قريبين جوج الناس اما كيبان لي حنا سبقنا مسلمين هاد البلاد مسلمين على حق حنا ظاهر من حنا غير كنمشيو تنفهموا من المعارج ديالنا انت كبار ولا تمشي لمود اخرين كبار ولا مود اخرين كبار كدام بزاف اليهود قدام هنا الحربان زايد سنين تجلعوا الناس ايت اسرائيل تسموها في اسرائيل تنقولوا لهم ايت اسرائيل وهنا حدانا عاود تنقولوا لهم ايت قليله.
Thirstily absorbing the sayings of the sages.
السلام عليكم. عليكم السلام. طوبى برخاء. هشتي مش مريوش خذ قلب ربنا جخار مثل القيامة كلكم خذ مشيخ بعده نجتبع من على برحمة خير رسول المرامين.
Through study and prayer, longing for Zion has become a subconscious part of their lives. Hence, the officials were not surprised to find the Jews prepared to leave everything behind and go to the land of Israel. Trustingly, the Jews placed themselves in the hands of these young men who work without office or equipment, in the courtyard or on the ground among the stones. Your age? The doctor must examine the lines of his hand to determine his age.
شو عاد تزمان كيفاش اسمها كيفاش اسم الراجل
هذا حي
تزمان
هاك واحد يمشي
قال لك لا وين ورا
لا نمشيو غير ما تسخناش هناك معاهم
فاينو
ما يجي السوق هو دابا
يجيك قال باش يجي ايش تحب تعمل لي.
Photographs are taken on the spot. For many, the first of its kind. There are new ways to learn, and perhaps a new personality to discover.
اللي جات الساعة ما جاتش يشوفوها الترابي يحرطوا كل شيء عملوا تبارك الله
ولا يعطيوك مضرب باش تحرط انت تحرط.
The great day has arrived. Going to take their leave of those who are left behind.
يذكر من وين لطباع شعار صدق علام.
Everything ready? Ready. Everything clear? Clear. Then let's get on with it. They are all prepared. They've left their huts. They're waiting. Religious objects call for special treatment. The ancient symbols, bread and salt, to signify blessedness and peace. The mezuzah, the mark which set aside a Jewish house from others, is wrenched out of the framework of the door of the synagogue. Grandsire and grandson fold their past into the rolling of the Holy Scroll. Last-minute arrangements, signing receipts and marking luggage. They give themselves over to the young strangers with childlike faith.
اعمل باليهود اعمل اللي تحب لاباس عليك لاباس اها وين من الباليزات تاعك
همك ما زوجت من الله شو حداك
كداش عندك في مراكش
عندي ثلاثة
في مراكش ولا هنا كداش
ساكوشات
لهنا كداش عندك باليزات
الباليزة ديال السفاري
سفارين على اسم يعملوا على داوود دهن انتي
شوفوا علينا بجوز شوفوا علينا بجوز
العزيز وحده
ودهن داويد
لا كنا دهن داويد كنا احنا دهن
عندك قداش باليزات؟
لا كيف سوف داويد
وديك كان باليزات قداش عندك باليزات؟
شفالي علينا بجوج علينا بجوج
ايه قداش عندك باليزات؟
بجوج مرات شو وحده هنا
وانت قداش عندك؟
لا علينا بجوج
A true exodus, set in motion by their deep faith and a need to bring to life the vision of their fathers and their own longing. Berbers silently escort the bus and its contents. Where are the Jews going? From the receding world of the past and a chapter that is ended, to a promised and promising land.